Okay, this is my response to the Young Turks. Naturally, I'm a right-wing conservative, so I'm going to say there was a little ideological arrogance there. But then again, it goes for both sides. Both sides accuse each other of doing that, so it's kind of... Okay, number one, you said the abstinence pledges don't work. Of course they don't. Like I said in my other response I did to you guys, kids are so bombarded with sex, and teens and young adults in college are so bombarded with sex, and you expect them to make some nothing little promise to stay virgins to get married, and under the pressure at ceremony of their parents, like you said, and you expect them to keep it. Of course it doesn't work, because of your liberal, trashy pop culture that you have cramming sex down everybody's throat. You don't use this fake poster to cover up something, to have the superficiality of a nothing scenario. You and I agree right there, but that's about the only thing we agree on. You guys to the left wing need failure to justify yourself. I clashed with two guys in college, and they were screaming at me that they said if some woman just jumped on you or whatever like that, you would have sex with her. And I screamed back at them, no, it just doesn't work that way. And what happens is that their arrogance is so bad, they need to prove every single human being on the planet is as weak and as pathetic as they are to justify their cynicism. They use sex as a mind deadener to numb their soul, to drown their empty lives so much, and they have to prove everyone else is weak and pathetic as they are. You said the reason why you're having sex is because they're human. It's very human to kill and rape too. We're not gods. We're not perfect. Sex is not something so linear and bland as food. You can't equate with, you say, breathing air, I vow not to breathe oxygen, and you break the pledge. It doesn't work that way. You have a choice, and you can not have sex and remain alive. Okay, air, different story. Food, different story. Sex is not so linear and bland as food is or oxygen. And when you do that, you're equating women as objects, but you guys do that all the time so much it's so accepted. And the woman on the program, this blows my mind when women jump this liberal bandwagon. You're not liberated. You're not freeing sexual repression. Don't complain about womanizers, because you're giving every male, loser, jerk-off, boinker, womanizer, man-slut a license to treat you as a sex snack, as a coochie cake. Alright? So don't complain about that. That's out the window. And by the way, I made a comment on a radio station, had a night question. Is it okay to have sex with someone you're not in love with? I phoned in and said, we have so much acceptance of mainstream first date sex. It camouflages date rape, because even whenever they have the DNA proving intercourse happened, the guy still goes off scot-free, because the jury says, well, so many people have sex in the first date, it makes perfect sense. If that weren't heard of, all these rapists would go to jail. The radio DJ aired a lot of people with pro-boinking arguments. He didn't air mine. I guess he didn't have the gonads. Alright, the woman said, keep it to yourself. Why? The boinkers don't, if you want to stay a virgin. Why should I have to hide under slimy rock crevices, cowering in terror, while the sex Nazis are marching down the streets, proud in broad daylight? Why should I have to be one to keep it to myself? Which is why I'm posting this YouTube video. Slimy rock crevices, okay, many people who have sex and premarital sex, well, sometimes in marriage too, different story, they regret it. Okay, so you have all these stats, all these people who didn't stay virgins. What about the ones who had sex and regretted it? I had a female friend in college who was ashamed of her virginity, gave her virginity to a loser because she was tired of being a goody two-shoes. Every single friend she had premarital sex, and every single friend she had told her to wait. She didn't listen. Why don't you guys talk about that, about the regret and the hurt and the heartbreak? And you're giving men a license to treat you as a coochie cake. I ran a personal ad in my college newspaper and mentioned that I wanted to stay a virgin until I got married. And people told me, well, you shouldn't advertise that and this kind of stuff. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. And second of all, I don't want a woman who's for premarital sex. And that's whenever your response comes in, oh boy, you're going to have a hard time there. No, because not all women who've had premarital sex go without regretting it. A lot of women regret it. I didn't say I wanted a virgin. I said I wanted a woman who's against premarital sex. I do have some leeway, okay? Another thing. Oh yeah, you say it's a failure, you say it's a failure. What about the success of the kids who did stay virgins? You guys remind me of the Ku Klux Klan who goes to a ghetto and says, looks at the gangbangers, ignores the black youths that aren't gangbangers, even the ones that are, it's still understandable with the junk they have to go through, and say it's a failure and the black race is inferior. So the way that the Ku Klux Klan hates black people is the same way that you left-wingers hate virginity. There's no difference. And believe me, I know what it feels like to be a minority. I'm a middle-class white-bread male, but I promise you, when it comes to the sex world, I'm a Jew in the Holocaust, okay? Because we're being systematically exterminated because we're not allowed to breed, because if you haven't completely sold out to pop culture standards, you don't get dates, okay? We're being outbred systematically. We are being exterminated. And no, I don't apologize for that analogy. I make no apologies for my anger, and that's it. Success. The versus KKK. Oh yeah, and by the way, how to fix all this mess? Counter media like I'm doing now, and boycotts. What happens is that liberals love to say, if you don't like it, then turn your head. Well, let me boycott you because I don't want to support you either. Okay? So you start saying that, you're legislating morality. No, you're legislating morality because you're forcing me to support you with your sex media when I don't want to support you. So you say, turn my head? How can I turn my head if every time I buy a toothbrush, I'm supporting a company who markets sex or something? So let me boycott you and then we'll shut up. Oh boy. Okay, I'm getting a little flustered here, but oh well. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. And to all you losers who are screaming at me right now saying get laid loser and all this kind of junk, you're the losers. Because you have to prove everyone is weak and as pathetic as you are, and women are not chunks of flesh to gouge into so men can feel better. It's supposed to be a holy, godly experience. But nobody knows what that is today anymore. So there you go. All responses will be allowed. Say what you got to say. I'm cool. First Amendment. Say what you got to say. All responses will be allowed.